Welcome to the Compass Audiocast. I'm your host, Hawa Kambian. Prepare to revisit the compassionate wisdom many of us heard in our youth so that we can mindfully apply it to reimagine a future of work that we can all shape for the better. So welcome back, everyone, to our latest episode of The Compass. It has been a hot minute. And I'm so excited to be back, ready and refreshed to dig into more of these career and organizational topics with you all. So with that, let's jump right in to today's quote. Appreciate what people are doing for you. So in childhood, this always was a callback to really acknowledge or express gratitude whenever people would help me out. And it was also the idea that it was the least I could do as a sign of respect and kindness. The workplace is a very different beast, as we all know, because there is often a very transactional aspect between the money that you earn for doing a job and the function that you perform in the job. And it ties into how we show up and how we're compensated. And many people tie this to appreciation, right? Especially when you think about things like salary negotiations and getting your quote unquote worth. However, there is also a relational and emotional aspect to how we show up and what experiences we're cultivating when we're in the workplace. So this is a juicy topic because showing appreciation can range from a beautiful, authentic, and intentional reflection of an organizational culture, and it can also be a reflection of the politicking, the people-pleasing, and the coercion that can exist. And it's a very fine line, right? It can range between being best friends with the secretary who you have lunch with every day to another extreme where your second cousin is on the board and has the ability to influence who becomes your new manager. It's a tricky space to operate in, but here we are. And these kinds of extremes will always exist in organizations. The real questions are, number one, as an organization, are you contributing conscious energy to healthy culture building so that you can better navigate some of these extremes or some of these unhealthy extremes? And number two, what appreciation dynamics are you consciously practicing and participating in as an individual? So when I think about the bigger picture on this and experiences in my career, it brings me back to the nature versus nurture question of human behavior, right? And for those who aren't familiar, nature speaks to the fact that we are just born the way that we are, and certain traits and habits will never change. They're just a part of our personality. Versus nurture says that the environment, the positive or negative reinforcement that you receive, shapes your behavior. So again, it brings up this question, to what extent are the work environments we're in valuing and celebrating appreciation and support at all, let alone in ways that are healthy and in ways that are not manipulative? Equally, to what extent do we as individuals have the willingness to give and receive genuine appreciation in a collaborative style, or to opt for power plays that benefit our personal desires? At the heart of it, are acts of appreciation based on real effort and character, or is it based on the threat of negative consequences? All right, so I'm not gonna lie. In the past, I tended to be quite idealistic about work environment and work culture, especially operating in this social innovation and impact bubble. It was all kumbaya, all for one and one for all, right? I was working in places where our missions were about helping people and, lifting up society and all of these great qualities. And while there's truth to that, sometimes we also find ourselves in spaces where it's equally important and encouraged to help ourselves just as much. Especially in the early years of my career, it wasn't uncommon to come across leaders who had very clear expectations on what the terms of appreciation should look like, whether that was crossed boundaries around your time, your role, or your personal safety. And this is where we need to reassess the power dynamics that feed into unhealthy appreciation and think about the tools that we can start to use to rebalance. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that these messages can reach and support professionals and leaders as they build healthy and aligned cultures. All right, y'all, let's start to build a bridge so that we can get over these challenges. So, coming from a negative headspace when these sort of appreciation manipulations were put in front of me, for lack of a better word, at my most negative, I absolutely despised feeling obligated to show respect and appreciation that was not aligned, appropriate, or genuine. It's actually quite a hostile and conflicting feeling that any of my potential kindness, appreciation, or goodwill were being weaponized against what I actually had to offer, right? And it's a very short road from appreciation to resentment if and when appreciation is insisted upon in a way that is not professional or aligned to who you are, right? If you're having to jump through unequal, imbalanced hoops in order to prove that you have gratitude, right? Or that you're expressing gratitude. So the positive state that I wanted back in those days and that I still seek now, and I'm very aware of when I'm navigating relationships, is that I want to feel good about the way that I'm showing appreciation and gratitude, right? I want to feel like my acts of kindness are valued for what they are and the fact that they're coming from me and the type of relationship that I have with the people or group of people that I'm expressing appreciation and gratitude with and for, right? And I don't want to feel demeaned because my act of gratitude did not meet a certain expectation or standard. After all, most of us are giving what we can within our capacity. And that is actually the basis for healthy, sustainable, and authentic dynamics, a true acceptance of where people are at, right? You don't hire a gardener and then tell them to come inside and clean your house and get upset when they haven't cleaned your house to a certain standard, right? Or when the capacity for being great at landscaping your home doesn't match the capacity for cleaning the inside of your home, because they're different skill sets, right? I really wanted to feel like I was connecting and forming deeper working relationships with people that I could trust, continue to learn from, and where we could mutually and professionally support each other's successes. This is such a crucial point in organizations because productivity can either be based upon fear and lack that fast tracks people on the road to anxiety or burnout based on the kind of culture that you put in place, right? Based on whether or not you even have appreciation standards and based on whether or not you're even aware of some of the covert appreciation practices that exist. Or you can opt for a productivity that's rooted in collaborative, open, and adaptive relationships that deepen. And guess what deeper relationships mean? People are often more willing to take risks like being vulnerable enough to share new ideas, or better yet, invest in them. And that's where your company experiences growth. Not when people are physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically drained from people pleasing, You also run the risk of co-signing on deep biases and unequal preferential treatment of those who have been adhering to certain unprofessional appreciation standards. This is why having shared values that are connected to key behaviors that are held to a performance and culture standard is so important, especially when it comes to leaders in a position of power. What it does is it gives you an accountability standard for your team, and it also gives you a standard which your team and your colleagues can also use to affirm your approach to managing people. #walking the talk. So, how can we think about this differently when there's an unhealthy appreciation standard in an organization? First, triangulate data. So leaders, this is where you can't just rely on what people report, because many never will, especially to initially bring some imbalance to your attention. So observing what is happening within the daily practice of team and manager habits will alert you to any potential issues. Within the organization, you can do things like audit the workloads of people who seem to be getting frequent promotions, or equally people who have been overworking for months on a special account. Once you discover something, go deeper. Is your culture creating a black market for appreciation because no official channels exist for people to be recognized, to grow, or to access opportunities? Are certain people favored because of major gaps in team capacity? Reflect on the systems that are feeding into unhealthy behaviors. Second, set standards. Take this as an opportunity in your organization to develop, set, and clarify what appreciation methods are acceptable amongst the different hierarchies. Clarify so that senior staff understand what the scope of good performance entails for the people on their team. And also clarify so that junior staff understand what their role obligations, progression, and job safety boundaries are, so that everyone is speaking the same language and can recognize what healthy appreciation looks like and what it looks like to be actually appreciated in a way that is safe within the organization. Third, balance opportunities. To be fair, there are often times when going above and beyond is seen as a way of investing in appreciation for the role you have, or the role you hope to continue to have and expand beyond. That's fine. However, ideally, there would be a way of ensuring that team opportunities are allocated fairly amongst team members with similar skills and included in performance for future role and scope changes. This also supports the organization with succession planning and ensuring you have great and growing people in place to continue scaling the impact of your organization. Is your organization struggling with challenging dynamics that hinder collaboration and sustainability? At HKC, we support you to align your team to organizational values so that you can achieve a balanced and enriching environment that allows you to focus on growth. Visit our website for more. So I'm so happy to say that I now have a much more positive experience and lens when it comes to today's quote. And it's actually such a great place to start a culture of mentorship in your organization. Because let's face it, not everyone on a team will be eager to grow in the same areas and at the same speed. And this is where leaders can then take an ethical and effective approach to what investing professionally looks like for staff members. For me, it was a game changer when leaders started to recognize my efforts on the job and matched their appreciation for my work with a willingness to discuss my career and be emotionally supportive of my goals. This is connected to my definition of success, because this is really where you help people tap into their capacity to grow and carry through a vision for the future of work. Whether that's in their own lives, their company, or disrupting entire industries. Not through pressure, expectation, or obligation, but through unifying people through a supportive community. It's why I believe in the power of mentorship and have worked with different groups to provide safe spaces outside of the workplace for people to access guidance and growth on their terms. Thanks for tuning in to the Compass Audiocast, where we bridge past, present, and positive for the future of work. Please like this post if you found it useful, share it with someone who may need to hear it, and subscribe if you want to be notified when our next one comes out. Let's work together on your professional well-being or your organizational culture for more enjoyment, positivity, and collaboration for the future of work. Leave me a comment to share a healthy and uplifting workplace relationship that you're appreciative of and how it's impacted you. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next one.